Welcome to Look Behind the Look, the new podcast that examines iconic looks in film, television, music, and fashion history. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok. Hi, everyone. How's everyone feeling? You doing okay? I know things are getting a little weird because there's been a distinct shift in things opening back up. No masks, going for it, it's all happening. It's really, really, really happening. It feels in so many ways that we're completely back to normal, right? But there's a little bit of a hangover here because we're re-entering and normal isn't exactly normal. And now we're getting busy and it's causing a little bit of anxiety about where and how to fit everything back in. But we'll figure it out. Just go easy on yourself. Speaking of fitting everything in, I got a little backlogged and overwhelmed during all of this re-entry, and I was getting this episode ready, and I realized that I spoke to my guest Andrew Sotomayor quite a while ago, before there was even hope of getting back to normal. And since then, we've heard that Broadway is back, tickets are being bought, and actors are warming up for opening night again. Hallelujah. Very exciting. I mentioned Broadway because my guest Andrew Sotomayor designed for West Side Story, which is the hot ticket. I'm so excited to go. I had tickets before the shutdown, and now I can finally see it, and so can you. We talk a lot about West Side Story along with many, many other things. And I have to say that if you are seeking career advice at all, Andrew has got some of the best advice for you that I've heard in a while. I really hope you enjoy our conversation as much as I enjoyed talking to him. I loved hearing his stories about his Emmy win, his exciting career, and all of his different projects. Andrew's experience is in beauty editorial, red carpet, fashion, film, television, and brand development. And he is a go-to for makeup, beauty trends, temporary tattoos, character design. Andrew was a makeup artist for 22 seasons of New York Fashion Week and a celebrity makeup artist for 8 Academy Award-winning actors, 3 daughters of 2 U.S. presidents, a presidential candidate, a knight, a dame, some of the most powerful female CEOs, and Andrew won his first Emmy for Saturday Night Live in 2017, which we talk about here. He was nominated for an Emmy for Jesus Christ Superstar Live in 2018 and nominated again for the Pose pilot in 2019. He is the makeup department head on the other 2 on Comedy Central and John Mulaney's show on Netflix. His latest work can be seen right now in 2 Broadway shows, having designed tattoos for Company and the makeup and tattoos for West Side Story. That's a mouthful, I know, it's a lot. And Andrew has a lot to tell us, and I'm so excited for you to hear this episode. Here's our conversation. Andrew, I am so grateful for you spending time with me today. At this
It's a
point,
dream. I'm thrilled. I was so happy when I got your Instagram message.
yay! I'm so glad too. I was so glad that you responded because I can't believe we haven't met in person. And as soon as this is all over, we'll change that. But I, of course, know you and know your work, and I'm so happy to be talking to you. And I don't even I always
I'm
just
thrilled to be here. First of all, you've had the greats on this show. Like I was just listening to most recently, because I listened to many of your episodes,
thank
but Sandy
you.
Linter's.
Oh,
And I was like, oh, thank goodness somebody's doing this conversation because I'm going to have her on my show eventually one day. But
yes.
my God, that woman is a legend, an icon. I've called her a mentor because she's given me some great advice and even did a one-on-one makeup lesson for me years ago when I was getting started.
What was
So
that? What was that like? How did that come about?
it was amazing. I mean, Sandy is somebody who the way Audra McDonald, the 7-time Tony-winning actress, gave us the best advice out of any guests we ever had when I was in college. Sandy Linter is that for the beauty industry, and so she's given me advice, particularly in the beginning of my career, that was contrapuntal to what other people were telling me at the time. So I just think for someone who's seen so much, done so much, carved her own unique path, and as she describes it, is the one person from her generation who's still out there and doing makeup. She's a bit of a living history book
Yeah.
and a guide as well, because she can look at certain things and certain moments in our lives and say, this is temporary, or this is going to keep up with
That's
you.
that's really true. That's really true. Pay attention to this, disregard that. Yes. Yes, she's the oracle for sure. And I love her stories. I could listen to her all day. But yes, documenting this is definitely the goal. Like sort of taking people who may or may not get to cross over and tell the world how they do things, because we know in the industry, we know each other, but, reaching past that and sort of.
And I love that you're doing this because what I think a lot of the biggest makeup artists, people like Sandy, Sandy is somebody who's big, but also is very well known and has a great Instagram following now. But when Instagram really became big, a lot of us that were professional makeup artists and used to making our clients our priority, we were slow in a lot of cases to go into social media, fully the way that someone like a Michelle Phan had done that. Because
Yes.
for us, it's about putting our clients first. It's about putting real women first and giving them our advice. Or in Carmody, she's somebody who said, you're not famous, but you're going to feel really special today. And so to now come full circle and to be on your podcast and for you to be capturing these stories, it's really important because we need our history to be preserved. And it's important to me with my own podcast. And it's just, there's stories and there's things that we've experienced getting to meet billionaires and people getting their very first job and everybody in between. And you don't get to live this amazing life and career of a makeup artist and not have amazing experiences that you have the responsibility to use to inspire other people around you.
Yes, 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 yes. Oh, that's really well said. Very well said. And so your podcast is up and running and you're doing it. I saw the Carmindi one and
Yeah,
have you how did that come about?
Masters of Makeup was an idea that I had many years ago, and I was definitely ahead of my time with the idea of it. And now when I'm seeing podcasts like yours, and I'm so glad that I can finally launch mine and feel like
Yeah.
these are conversations that people are ready to have, because every magazine, every fashion website rejected it. And like I went to everybody. I pitched it all around. I got lots of oh sure,
How
let me take a look at it.
interesting.
People, and I was like getting major people on the show, and I was so surprised that people were saying no. But it really just affirmed two things. One, that I was right in thinking that the only thing that the majority of the industry was interested in hearing from makeup artists about was makeup beauty tips, how we created what particular look we created during a fashion show, and what products we were selling. And what they weren't interested is what we'd learned in 10, 20, 30 years of working with amazing people. It's like if you're working with a celebrity, yeah, it's great. You want to know what her favorite lip gloss is. But
So
it's also like,
frustrating.
what was it like when someone cried because they decided to leave a TV show that we're at? Or when you cried because somebody was leaving a TV show that
Oh
you were
my
working
God,
on.
of course, of course. Oh
So I'm
my.
glad we've changed, and I'm glad that the makeup artists are having a different moment now. And in the pandemic, we're getting a chance to live our lives and tell our stories in a different way.
Yeah, 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 yeah. How have you seen the industry come together? I've seen the community really come together during the pandemic and, sort of the competition and, all of the game of it is sort of
Yeah.
fading away into a community that's really come together. And have you seen the same thing?
There's sort of a great equalizer here that happens when something as terrible, whether it's a violent tragedy or whether it's a pandemic, there comes a moment where people really stop and they reflect on their lives, they reflect on their values, and the makeup community has definitely done that. I mean, I was so impressed as I was doing interviews for beautyvotes.org that people were willing to drop everything and make time to have a conversation with me about why beauty was so important to them. And that shocked me, how 1 in 4 people that I reached out to said yes, and enthusiastically and almost immediately, and said, when can I get on your schedule? And I'm talking major people like Daniel Martin, who does princess makeup, literally, and
Yeah.
represents 2 makeup lines. And someone from RuPaul's Drag Race came on and spoke to me about why beauty was important. We've realized how much we are both artists and thinkers and storytellers, And we're getting all of that out there. And we're also realizing that we have voices that matter and that need to be used. And when you look at the beauty industry mirrors the 65.5% of the voting population in America. That's because when you look at the beauty industry, you're looking at young people, people of color, women, young women, LGBTQ people. Like, this is who makes up the beauty industry. And that is, again, at least 65.5% of the voting population in America. So when you put all those figures together, what you're really just saying is that we in the beauty community have already known that we are the trendsetters, that social media, we're the most powerful population there. And we're also mirroring the most powerful demographic collectively for voters in America. So there's a sense of pride that's coming forth, and an affirmation within our community that we're more than just lipstick putter-oners and hair smoothers.
Yes, I mean, that was something that was so rare with Kevin, him being having such a loud voice in activism, and it's become sort of, if you don't speak out now, you're in the minority, and that's a big shift, you know.
Completely. I mean, this is going to be, I don't think voting is controversial, but I think what I'm going to say is controversial, which is that as I scroll through people's Instagrams now, and I look back at June and November, if I don't see you talking about racial justice, if I just see the only thing you posted about Black Lives Matter is a black empty square where you didn't have to say anything, like, I'm not really impressed, and there's actually a chance I'm going to unfollow.
Right. You want to hear what they have to say in their viewpoint and see their support. Yeah, absolutely.
And especially, like, you know, I'm lucky to know a lot of really privileged makeup artists and a lot of successful makeup artists. And it's like, if at this point in my life, if I'm not going to speak up as a Latino, then what difference does it make that I'm also an Emmy winner? Like, I need to speak for all of the communities that I represent. And obviously, like, I'm a cisgender male, I'm not a woman, but I owe my career to women. Like, how would I not vocally and actively get involved in causes that are important to women's health, to women's rights, to women's justice, to the Me Too movement? Like, I have a responsibility, not only because it's the right thing to do, but because I owe a debt of gratitude.
Oh, that's really well said. Really well said. Tell me a little bit about how you got here, how you got to this point. How did you begin? What's the origin story, Andrew?
My X-Men origin story is how I became a makeup artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It was all supposed to be something slightly different than what I planned. And what I've discovered through life is that if there's something you want from the universe, ask for it, but ask for it very specifically.
Oh, okay.
You can get it, just like, careful what you wish for, because you just might get it,
Yeah.
but it might come slightly differently. When I walked into the Broadway theater, it's the Broadway theater, which is on Broadway. They named it the Broadway theater.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The Broadway theater on Broadway, which is where they've got playing West Side Story. When I walked into that theater for the very first time as the makeup designer, my eyes were just red and drippy. And like, the props person was like, come on, let's finish loading in. And I was like, this was a lifetime dream come true. Like, since I was a little kid in middle school, I wanted to work on Broadway. Now, I always thought I wanted to be a chorus boy on Broadway.
Right.
But I got there anyway, just in a different way. But my whole plan was to be a theater kid and to be a theater performer. I was in, dance classes 3 times a week. I was in singing lessons. I was in all state, national, and
Where were you? Where did you grow up?
I grew up on Long Island.
Okay, so you were here.
I was born in Dallas, and then I grew up on the suburbs of Long Island. And my first time doing makeup was in high school theater. And
we have the same story.
No way.
Yes, I was like a total theater kid as well, musical theater major. Yes. So
oh my God.
I love this. Okay. So
it all comes back.
Yeah, I learned doing it, on myself, the little Ben Nye kit that I've talked about before on here, that was light, medium, and dark.
Yes, those little boxes, and they're little jars, and they're all super, super creamy, so you have to use lots and lots of powder.
Yes.
Those kits. I had
great
those.
for the
I
skin.
had the spirit gum, and then the little crepe hair that you tear up. And I learned how to do a wig so that as a 14-year-old, I could play one of the Papa's in Fiddler on the Roof.
Nice.
But I was hooked. I was hooked because of an amazing makeup artist, and I wish I knew who he was at this point, but he came and he spoke to our school and he taught us how to do aging makeup and beard makeup. And I had no idea that I was going to get inspired to do beauty, but what I did walk away from that at first moment is that makeup gives you a transformation and it says something about who you are. Erin Kruger McCash said in my podcast, she says, costume designers, makeup artists, hairstylists, our work will tell you something about a character on screen before the actress even opens her mouth. Mm-hmm. And that was something I learned in high school, and it's been affirmed whether I'm doing something on camera or whether I'm doing something, somebody's wedding. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't ask somebody like, do you like black eyeliner? Do you like blue eyeliner? I ask someone like, show me the dress. How do you feel about this dress? How do you want to feel on that day? Right. Like, do you want to feel relaxed and calm and effervescent and romantic and Victorian, or do you want to feel cool and chic and rock and roll? Do you want to just feel like beauty, 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 glamour, 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 all eyes on me, diva moment? When you think about it in those terms, you're really going to empower yourself and your clients to know, and TV and film, you're going to empower the director to see yourself and to see a character as a certain way. It's all the same. It's how you feel when you look at yourself, or when you walk out the door.
I love that. So this is high school. Yes, absolutely. So, well, we were talking about how you began. So you began recognizing that you can transform completely into this character and disappear and really be empowered to be somebody else through makeup. And that's
you understand that because you did the documentary on Kevin O'Quan.
Yeah.
And nobody's ever done more of that. Of I would say there's people who've done more avant-garde work since Kevin O'Quan, but in terms of this human and this human icon and seeing what they have in common, that's what we're talking about. You know, there's something a little bit deeper that you can capture and that you can bring out.
And then, so in high school, you discovered this love for theater and for transformation. And then did you go to college?
I did. I decided to take a year off before I went to college. But I had my scholarship. I deferred for a year. I said, I'm coming, but I need a little time. And so what I did is I went and I got a job working at Starbucks. And I also went and got a job working at Lord & Taylor. And there was a nice woman, Adrienne Hazen, who hired me. And when I walked in, she thought that I was graduating college. And so she was like, yes, this is great. And then somewhere in the conversation, she said, wait. You're going to college eventually. Did you not? What did you just graduate? Like, I graduated high school. She's like, oh my God, how old are you? I was like, I'm 17. She's like, I can't give you a job. You're 17. Like, when's your birthday? And I said, it's in 2 weeks. She's like, okay, legally I can't say this, but technically, unofficially, if you come back in 2 weeks on your birthday, I will give you a job. Aww. And she was good to her word. She hired me on the spot. And then I got a job selling men's jeans and sweaters. And I loved it. I loved it because coming from high school, especially as a teenager in the 90s, like the whole like vibe of the 90s teenagers was like super like, I'm too cool for this. And so working in a department store was perfect for me because I was like perky. I was excited. I had like come out only a couple of years before. So I was like, let's do this. I was ready for life. And the department store was the perfect place to do that because you could be genuinely excited to be there and genuinely excited to help somebody, and they would buy stuff from you. It was perfect.
Yeah. I'm sure you rocked the sales. I can see it. Yeah.
I was good. I was good at sales to an extent, because to an extent I was like really excited to help people find what they were looking for. And then maybe one or two other things that were good. And the same thing ended up being true at the makeup counters. But I was never somebody that encouraged people to walk out with $1,000 of silver boxes, right? Because I just couldn't justify that.
It didn't feel like a trick. Your customer, you weren't tricking them. Yeah, you were always sincere. Yeah. So you came out in high school, Andrew?
Oh yeah, I was 16 when I came out.
Wow, that's great. What made you come out so early? You were so brave.
I mean, in my era, it was definitely a little bit different. I'm 38 now, so I came out in, like, it was probably 1998 when I told the first person that I was doing high school theater with that I was gay. And she was this cool punk rock Doc Martens wearing girl with like short hair, asymmetrical. And there was one girl who was a senior as well, and that she was out. And those girls were kind of like the ones that I kept my eye on and was aware of and knew that they were kind of like safe space.
Yep.
But like after they graduated, I was the only openly gay person in my high school.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit different. But I also, for me back then, especially when you consider socially, there are a lot of places where LGBTQ people are very much still not safe in their day-to-day lives. And we know that Black trans women have the shortest life expectancy of anyone in America. So there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. I'm also aware of the progress that's come since then, because in my day, you could almost, it was sort of the beginning of where people didn't even really think that there were gay people around them necessarily in their high school. It was always like a huge surprise. Whereas now everybody knows, like, yeah, there's queer people in my high school. I just don't know who they are necessarily till they come out.
Right.
Or they've been watching Drag Race and going to drag cons since they were 9. So they all
right.
they're very much out. They've always been out. But in my era, yeah, it was a little bit trickier. And seeing people like Kevin Aucoin wear an Act Up t-shirt in my era when I was coming out, which was the era of the height of the AIDS crisis and Don't Ask, Don't Tell for the military, and people still by and large in the closet. And it was a couple of years before Will and Grace. Yeah, it was very different. But I, you know, again, coming from the theater community, it really empowered me because there was such a diverse group of weirdos and artists and humorists around me. And, you know, that was really empowering. And I remember senior year of high school, there was this one moment where we're in Spanish class and some doofus says, I don't know what he and I were talking about, but he finally says, "Dude, you're so gay." And I was like, yeah, it's senior year. Are you just figuring this out now?
Okay, so good. We're now in college. We're at Lord and Taylor.
Yeah, we finished a year at Lord and Taylor. I ended up getting a job at the makeup counters. I loved it. I sold a lot of product and I had a great time. I sold in the department stores every holiday season, every summer vacation. And when I got out of college, there was a very distinct moment where
where did you go? Where did you go to college?
Someplace where they had a lot of sociopaths as professors. So we should probably just move on. Because I learned a lot of tough lessons in college about good people and bad people.
I'm sorry about that.
I had amazing teachers who still inspire me today. And then I had ones who took me 15 years of therapy to recover from their games and their mind games. But you come out of things a lot more powerful ultimately if you put in the work to heal after that. But there was a distinctive moment when I left college. I'm in a car and I'm driving away from school with my now best friend, my then boyfriend, and the phone rings. And it was the casting director's office. I think it was Jay Binder Casting. And they were offering me an internship that I had applied for. And I'd applied like maybe 2-3 months before and never heard anything. So now I'm graduating, I'm leaving, and I'm on the phone and I'm sitting here like leaving college, supposed to start this theater career that I planned for. But I also have like 3 weeks of makeup work lined up at the department stores. And I distinctly remember making the choice in that moment to say, thank you. I have already got some other plans lined up for the next 3 weeks. And it would be wrong of me to cancel on people all of a sudden last minute. So I turned down that opportunity to go work at a theatrical casting agency and then instead to go work in a department store. And that was one of several choices that I made throughout my careers that ultimately led me to just diving straight in and going with the current to becoming a makeup artist. I remember going to Actors Equity and waiting around to do auditions and then sitting around and waiting around. And there were 300 guys who would come in and then I didn't get seen. And I thought, I am not cool with this. I'm not cool with sitting around wasting my life. I could be working, I could be making money, I could be drawing, I could be in dance class, I could be putting makeup on models right now. I could be doing anything, but rather than wasting my time. So the actors who make it on Broadway, or the people like Leslie Jones, the celebrities like Leslie Jones who have always been working, but then they become really huge superstars when they turn, 40, 45, 50. Like, there's so many different ways to get where you want to go. And makeup has really made that very clear to me. And as I started more and more to say yes to makeup things and say no to theatrical things, like I turned down an audition for Evita after and I would have been on the national tour. There was a very good chance I was going to get that job because I came so close to getting cast in the national tour of Chicago just before that. But I was like, I don't really want to do Evita. I don't like this show. And I've got this other makeup thing. And I was so afraid that if I let go of the makeup career that I built up into that point, that I wouldn't be able to pick it up again. I
Yeah.
was like, what happens if I, hurt myself on tour, or, throw out my back or something and I need to come back and make money? How will I do that? I won't be a dancer anymore. I won't be a makeup artist anymore. I will just be trying to find my way. And
Right.
I was too afraid a lot of times to make those bold decisions. But I guess coming back to the modern day where we're all at now, I think that's why, to your point, the makeup community is coming together so much,
Mm-hmm.
because we're seeing maybe people that we worked for that didn't pay us properly. Or we're seeing advice that we were given about careers from somebody who wasn't a makeup artist and
Mm-hmm.
saying, is that somebody that I should be listening to? Or we're taking advice from people who are very prominent in the community, but maybe they're Instagram makeup artists. So maybe they just have a different type of business that they're running that doesn't apply to somebody who's
Right.
running a wedding business in the Midwest.
Right. Yes, I know there's the makeup community is becoming so specific, right? And I think that as long as we welcome that, then and the different layers of it and the different types, and not to pigeonhole people, but it sort of helps you to sort of lose that edge of like somebody has more followers, and it's like, well, they do that type of thing that
Yeah.
garners a following. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And there's
And
different ways to build a career too. Like one of the biggest
100%.
one of the biggest criticisms of my career from outsiders has been, that I'm not the biggest editorial makeup artist, and that I'm not doing, my one of my very good friends, Mary Irwin, has a gorgeous editorial career, and other people, you know, Erin Kruger McCash is like TV. That's her jam. She's got more Emmy nominations than anybody.
Right.
Second to her mentor Michael Westmore from Star Trek. Like people do drive in these lanes that are really incredible, but my career has been such that I do a little bit of everything, and
Mhm.
that's been both a strength and a weakness depending on how you look at it. But it's been affirmed a number of times that because I did 22 seasons of Fashion Week, that's what got me the job designing for Julie Taymor for A Midsummer Night's Dream. And that's part of what got me working for West Side Story on Broadway. Because in both of those
Exactly.
cases, the costume designers wanted to have a fashion influence and wanted to do something that was theatrical, but that also felt elegant and had a different type of artistry there. And so I just tell people like to try absolutely everything, even if it becomes a lane that you don't want to continue down. Try everything, because the knowledge and the inspiration comes from all over. There's one show that I'm working on now, and we've got a fashion show in one of our episodes, and it's like, again, I need to know what that is. And if you've only done one genre, then and you love that, then great, then be the best you can possibly be in your market in that genre. But if you are curious about different things, follow that curiosity, because you don't know what you might be learning along the way.
That's great advice. That's great
Yeah.
advice. Now tell me about Julie Taymor and working and that whole experience, because I'm obsessed with her. And I'm just very curious about the creative way that show came together and your work in it.
Yeah. So I did a show called A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. It's called Theater for New Audience. It's in Brooklyn. It was a brand new space, brand new building, custom built for them. They set up the whole stage and the audience for our production in a particular way. And I was leaving a job with Glamour, and my phone rings, and it's a friend of a friend, and she's like, "Hey, my name is Beth. I got your information from so and so, and I'm the associate costume designer on A Midsummer Night's Dream with Julie Taymor. Would you be interested in potentially designing the makeup?" And I was like, "What is this day?" And I was like, "Yes, of course." Kept it very cool. And she said, "Okay, well, that's great, but here's the one thing. Costume designer is going to be going to Europe to finish another project, and she's leaving tomorrow. So she's hoping she can meet with you as soon as possible." And I was like, "Okay, well, what about tomorrow morning?" And I said, and so she was like, "Yes." So we set that up and we set up a time. So now I'm thinking, quick. Okay, what do I got? What do I got? What do I got? And I said to myself, I've got to walk into this interview already ready to do the job, so that they have no doubts in their mind that I'm the person for this job. And what she had told me on the phone was a couple of the general inspirations for the characters
Mhm.
and for the look of it. She's like, some of it's going to kind of look like an old film. Like the colors might be kind of desaturated on stage. The costumes have a lot of metallics in them, like bronzes and pewters, um, and there's some sense of magic. There's also some body painting from Africa and some Japanese masks that are kind of inspired as
All
well,
over the place.
all over the place. So I was like, okay, great, absolutely. And mind you, because I went to school for theater, I had taken a world theater class. And in that class, we studied Indian Kathakali, we studied Japanese No, we studied Chinese opera.
Thank God.
So I knew about all types of cultures and art and painting from all around the world. So what I did is I walked down the street to a bookstore, and I probably spent like $200 on photo books of everything from African body painting. That was like this huge book. And it had all of the different techniques that people would use, from the red umber clay, or where you splice a reed in 5 ways and it goes like that. And you can use that to do printing, or they do finger painting, or the white powders, and all these things which are
Oh,
either creative or sensual or religious. The scarification from Nigeria. I learned about all of this. And I bought books on, again, Japanese theater and masks and Chinese opera, and about tattoos. And I just went in. I was like, I'm gonna be the most informed person on body painting, art, culture from around the world that of anybody in that building. Like, that is my job. And as I finished shopping on all my books, I immediately texted a number of people, including this one model that I'd worked with that I was very good friends with. I texted, and I put something on Facebook saying, I need a model. Doesn't have to be a man or a woman, doesn't have to be a model, just somebody who wants to help me
come
with this
over
theater.
now. Yeah.
Come over now. I was living with a photographer at the time,
Thank God.
so I was very prepared. The next morning, I got my photographer roommate, I got this model, and I got one of my theater teachers, and I painted them with very, very theatrical looks. One of them, I made her face totally metallic gold, and I stippled a black sponge beard on her. And then the model, I painted her face with this white dusty powder, and then I flecked powder on her face. So it looked almost like a black and white film, but also like she was caught in the snow. And then on one of the ladies, I took 3 different shades of paint, like maybe like a vibrant blue and a black and a white, and I put dollops, like drops of them, all over the face. And then I took brushes and then I smeared them so that there were these stripes of color that you could never paint one at a time by hand. And my roommate photographed them. We did really quick edits just to like crop them or make the light a little bit darker or brighter. We loaded them onto my laptop. I grabbed my fashion portfolio. I grabbed my resume. I dressed in my nice shoes, and I went to Times Square and I went in for this interview, and I
Love
booked it
it.
on the spot.
Yes. Oh my God, how good did that feel?
It felt great. It felt really, really great, because I knew that I could have walked in just with my resume or just
Yeah.
knowing who I was up until that point, or the chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And instead I chose to like put the real work into it, and just to say like, this might not be the design you're going for. So I just did some exploratory work just to kind of show you, even if this is too extreme, some of the directions that I would welcome you to that I'd be ready to go in if you wanted to.
Right. But they liked all of the direction.
You know what it was a little bit of both, a little bit of some things they
Mhm.
loved, some things they didn't. What the costume designer
Perfect.
was understanding already is that some of the things that I did in that shoot were things that you're not going to be able to recreate 8
Right.
times a
Right.
week,
Of course.
but some things were a little bit more practical. So she showed me what she responded to and what she was not as excited by,
Mhm.
or that it wouldn't work. And the design process began soon after. But what was interesting as well is how, not to toot my own horn, but we went on this long design process and we tried lots of different things. And with the Julie Taymor show, you sometimes get to do that because, she does such big visual art. And a lot of the things that we kind of tried and then we didn't use, we ended up coming back to,
Hmm.
and some of which came from my original job interview. So I do feel like I sort of knew where we were going from the beginning.
That's fantastic. So how did you then so you answer to the, costume designer.
Yeah. Makeup
Okay.
artist answers to the costume designer answers to the director. And
Okay.
depending on the production, sometimes there's a little bit more of an ebb and flow,
Mhm,
depending.
mhm, mhm,
Some
mhm.
people are very, very hands-on, and some people are less so. What is so amazing about Julie Taymor is that she understands every artist's craft so well that she can not only talk to you about what she wants and have a pretty clear vision or a very clear vision, but she will also be able, she will also be able to give you notes and requests that actually make your art better. In 18 years of this business, Julie Taymor, more than anybody else I've ever come across, understands the lighting, the hair, the makeup, the mask design, the scenic design, the costumes. She understands all these different crafts so well that she can speak to the costume designer or lighting designer and give us a note and actually make our work better. It is my job to know more about makeup than anyone else in the building.
Mhm.
But when Julie has this vision and this incredible wealth of art in her brain, she can really inspire us and help our work go farther.
That's so generous. Yeah, that's so wonderful. I love hearing good things about her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I'm if you flash forward several years later to when I was doing West Side Story on Broadway, I'm waiting to go into the theater, and Julie walks out in front of the box office at the same time I did, and I got to tell her what I just told you. And she I think it took her a second to remember who I was. And then once she did and when she warmed up, it was great. And I got to share that feedback with her, and it was the biggest thank you that I could give her, but also such a big it was also such a big full circle moment. And then, of course, she ends up sitting directly in front of me in the theater on opening night. So
No.
to sit there on the edge of my seat thinking, I designed 100 tattoos for this show. It's going to be on a gigantic 70-foot screen, and Julie Taymor is sitting here watching them, and now remembers who I am, and what is she going to think and say? So when the show ended, and she turned around, and then she initiated a conversation again, and I was like, oh my
Oh,
god, this is incredible, and she loved the work, and she loved the show, and um, I just felt like I did her proud, and I had 6 years to try to become a better artist that I could say this I knew you when and this is who I am now, and you helped me get to this next point in my life.
absolutely. That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. So in between, what did that lead to? First of all, I have a one question. I was talking to Sarah about this for Moulin Rouge, Sarah Chimino,
Yeah,
and I was
can I
curious.
just tell you I am like furious that I didn't get that job, that I wasn't even
Ah!
they didn't even know me, so it's not like I would have been eligible, but like the fact that it happened without me
How
was
could
like,
it? How
wow,
could it?
how good, it's so jealous, so like so wonderful. But like she did all this amazing stuff with Company XIV or
Yeah.
Company 14, and like sexy vintage glamour, like she was the person to get that job, so I'm so happy for her, but also like, ooh, that's so delicious. Enjoy every moment of that
I'm
chocolate ganache,
sure.
girl, you earned it.
Yes, I think it was, yeah, Company XIV was like, a great funnel into that for sure. But I was talking a lot about how actors are, and you know firsthand, actors are so possessive of their look, and they're so, they love constructing it, and they love, this icing on the cake. How do you find, can you share any experiences that you have working with actors and putting the looks on them and teaching them to them? And to that also, how do you leave? Because it's hard to not mom it to death, and be like, how do you leave your babies like that, knowing that the show is running and it's running without you?
With every theater production I've been on, there's been the same arc where I come in super ambitious and excited and prepared, And then I get the job, and then we get into the nitty gritty of it, where we try different things, or where everybody gets really busy, or something's not working, and then you're shopping around. And then you get to the point where it's really there, and it's opening night, and you're like, I think this is good. I think this is great. And then hopefully a little bit before, while you're still in previews, you start to realize that the actors or your team, they're doing the makeup, and it's looking good, and they don't really need you anymore. And that is so bittersweet. It's like,
Sure.
I finally start to feel tired for the first time, because I finally let go of the high intense energy that I'm using to motivate myself. And also feeling sad that I'm kind of done. And it's kind of like going to go live without me.
Yeah.
I love the attention of it, obviously. I
Yeah.
love the face-to-face interactions, but that's, if I've done my job right, then yeah, it becomes time to go. Part of it also requires giving the actors that trust to really now live in their characters that you've helped them create. But I think it doesn't become a situation where they feel uncomfortable in their makeup if you design the character understanding who that character is. Like, if you understand what it is, the vision that they're trying to come up with, that's really gonna just get them more excited to do the makeup every night. It's gonna get them
Yeah.
excited to get into that coat of arms.
Mhm.
Yesenia, who plays Anita in West Side Story, we had this idea that we were going to put a gun tattoo on her thigh and tie a bandana around it, again with a tattoo. And we put it on. She tried it, she wore it, and then she's like, I don't really feel like this is right. Like, kind of for her story, and how there's all the violence that goes on in the show, but the women are kind of the ones who, um, oh, diffuse it, and are mad at the guys for being these violent people.
Mhm.
She's like, I don't know if that really makes sense for my character. What we did is we simply took the gun part out of that tattoo and left it as a bandana around her leg. And it fit perfectly with her dress. You could see it when she kicks. She felt good in it. And it kind of helps define her character. And I don't know of another character that has one. Certainly not an Anita on Broadway that's ever had one.
Right.
So it's a teamwork, because there's things that she's going to know, obviously, about this woman she's portraying from being in rehearsals with Evo Van Hove that I'm not going to know about. So
Right.
the working together is so important. And if you do that, then there doesn't become a conflict. And also, again, just coming like as prepared as possible.
Mhm.
The two actors who have the most tattoos on them are Duran, who plays Riff, and Roman Cruz, who's one of the ensemblists, one of the dancers. And Roman is so meticulous about because he puts some of his own tattoos on, and then one of my makeup artists at the theater puts on other tattoos on him. And he is so meticulous about getting them on perfectly, making them look right. And once he's all done up and he's covered in so much ink, like, he just looks like a different person. And
Mm.
this sweet-faced guy is like so tough and masculine, and like he's like the fighter of the group.
Mhm.
And he's said this in his own way, but it helps him get ready. It's like both a ritual as much as it is telling the audience about who this person is that he's portraying.
Yeah. Yeah. How tell me about the tattoos. How do they do you do this every night? Did you do that every night before the shutdown?
Well, what we figured out is, I figured out a way to make the tattoos so that they could last for 4 performances.
Oh,
So
okay.
the tattoo transfers that,
Mhm.
initially I was making, and I designed them, and then I made the first ones, and then we sent them to a company to have them mass produced for us. And then I've got 2 makeup artists at the theater who put the tattoos on the actors.
Uh-huh.
And the actors will do some tattoos on themselves that they can reach, maybe on their chest or on their face. But then the ones that are on their back or odd places, the makeup artist will help them with. And then they go and they check in with this amazing team that I have. And if something needs to be touched up, they'll touch it up with paint, they'll
Mhm.
seal it. And, you know, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of maintenance, but
Yes, yes, a lot of
we
maintenance.
it's a lot of maintenance, a lot of work, yeah. But it just creates such a modern version of the show, and I think a more accurate version of who these characters really are, because they would be tattooed.
Yep.
And it feels more contemporary that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I never got a chance to see it before the shutdown, but I had a ticket and then I didn't get to see it, but I will be seeing that as soon as everybody's back for sure.
It was a big hit, so I'm confident
Yes.
eventually, once we beat this COVID thing, that we'll be back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you did a lot of theater was Midsummer Night's Dream your first?
Midsummer Night's Dream was my first professional theater job, actually. Yeah, it sure was.
And
Yeah.
you went on to do quite a few. Were there any favorite looks from any of the shows that you really like when you saw it on stage? You were just like, oh my God, I did that. I mean, all of
Yeah,
them.
one that really sticks out for me. I did a production of Douglas Carter Bean's musical To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, and it's a stage musical adaptation of the movie, and that was a really fun project because there's a scene in the beginning where there's 12 drag queens, and 9 of them you never see in drag ever again, and so they all become real people. They all become guys after that, like rough looking guys if you know the plot,
Mhm.
you know. And so I had to figure out how we were going to get them into these crazy makeup looks for drag, for full drag, and then out of it, sometimes as fast as like a minute and 20 seconds. The fastest do drag
No.
was a minute and 20. So Tom would walk off the stage and then run to the costume team. They would take off the hair. Bobby Pins would do it. He's a drama desk winner. Bobby Pins would take off the wig, and then the 2 costume designers would take off the gown, and then somebody would hand him 2 different makeup wipes, which I pre-soaked with a special type of makeup cleanser that like turns into water. So he could then wipe off the makeup as he's walking away, like basically half naked, wipes off all the stuff in his face. There was a bathroom door that we propped open
Oh
so
my
that then he
God.
could just run in, splash lots and lots of water on his face. There was a towel waiting for him that he would dry everything off. Someone would throw a jacket on him and he would walk back on stage.
Oh. Why? Where's the Tony for that? Where's the Tony for quickest change, most elaborate change? We need to see to this.
I mean, that's the thing about, again, why it's so important to do so many different things as a
Yeah.
makeup artist, because having worked at Saturday Night Live for 8 seasons, I understood some of what that was going to be. You know, our fastest quick change, for me, my fastest quick change ever was a minute and 20 seconds for Sashir to get from the last sketch and into Good Nights. Louis Zakarian is the department head on that show. He's been there
Mhm.
for 25 years. He is my everything. Um, Louis had much crazier costume changes and makeup changes than I've done. He has a 10-second makeup change in the middle of a sketch one time. So I say all of this just to point
Oh.
out that having these amazing people to watch, it just continually reminds me, and this is great professional advice, put yourself in other experiences so that your chip on your shoulder will never get too large.
Mm.
You
Yes,
might
I
be the
mean,
biggest best in one genre, but then somebody else is going to be like, oh, that's great, but try this.
yes, I know. Yes, and people also judging other lanes as we were talking about it being lanes before, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
unless you've driven in that lane.
Yeah, the hierarchy is real. Like, I think
Yeah.
it's definitely different nowadays, but when I started, I was very much told that if I was going to do wedding makeup, like, don't let anybody in fashion know.
Oh yeah, I know, right. Mhm.
Like, it was very hierarchical, and
Mhm.
it was so specific. Like, department stores, we were kind of thought as like the worst,
Right.
and wedding makeup artists were maybe slightly above us, and then TV was next, maybe theater, TV and theater, and then maybe film, and then like celebrity makeup artists were kind of like at the top, and then
Mhm.
like the people doing ad campaigns for major fashion designs were at the top of that, and then maybe 5 people like Gucci Westman and Dick Page, and Aaron DeMay were like just above that. And it
Mhm.
was like, that is the level of who you are between being special and valuable to being like garbage. And it was really like kind of that vulgar even at times.
I
So
know.
now as you're seeing that there are people who've started a brand like Mented, and KG Miller is not a makeup artist. I don't think she's a makeup artist, but KG Miller is amazing and started this amazing brand, and she knows a lot about makeup. She's a huge voice in the beauty industry. Or like Lisa Eldridge, who really bucked the trend between doing YouTube at the same time as she was doing fashion.
Exactly.
Like the world is such that like you're gonna get these lessons from all different places.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I know. I know people who have secret websites for weddings, like with a different name, because they need to make the money, and they love to do brides, because really it's a red carpet, you know what I mean? It's that woman's
Yeah.
one day of red carpet,
Yeah.
and they're so embarrassed of it. And so they have an alias,
Yeah. But
It's
like at the end of the day too, I remember this one moment with, um, this one major celebrity and then her major makeup artist, and they're sitting together, and it's cold outside, and I just saw the actress like do that, just kind of put her head on her makeup artist's shoulder, and you knew they'd been together for about a year, and they were doing all the press tours and everything, and so they got to be friends and friendly. And when you're traveling with people and spending all this time, and you're the first person they see in the morning, um, and they dish all kinds of things that are going on in their lives, like there's kind of a special gift that you get, and there's a sort of affinity that you have for your talent and for your actors. But hopefully that's the same gift that you're giving, and the same appreciation that if you're doing makeup in department stores, you're going to give people. Or if you're a 70-year-old white man CEO at a L'Oreal or an Estee Lauder, hopefully you're going to have some semblance of what that experience is and what that intimacy is that makeup artists share with our clients. And you'll respect that when you hire people, when you come out with new products, or you decide what a price of something should be, because you can make such a difference in someone's life, whether you are putting somebody out there on the red carpet or you are putting somebody out there on the aisle.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It was really beautiful. Yeah. Everybody deserves to feel the same kind of attention being paid to them, and the same level of respect,
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
artist. Yeah, absolutely. I did want to ask you about your Emmy win. Can you tell me about well, you were at Saturday Night Live. I mean, everyone says that's the best way to be trained and be thrown to the wolves and learn absolutely every nook and cranny of the industry if you want to be a union makeup artist, right?
Well, yeah, Saturday Night Live is a union show. I did 8 seasons of SNL.
So were you union first, or did you get it
I was
by
union first
working?
at
You were
SNL.
union first. Okay. How did you become union?
It was kind of a long
Yeah,
journey.
it's
But the way,
awful.
it's not. I wouldn't say it's awful.
Okay.
I would say that it's more that you get into the union when you're ready. And
Well
so
said.
before I was in the union, I was doing other shows that previously were not union shows. Like I'd been on the Rachel Ray show briefly. I'd been on Project Runway for a couple seasons, and I'd been doing a lot of things that were like commercials and industrials and that sort of thing. And so I was collecting my pay stubs, I was collecting my call sheets, and I was making a spreadsheet that had all of the different days that I was working on these shows, and I was keeping the proof that I'd worked on them. And so then after a couple of years of doing it, about 3 years of keeping track of it all, I finally had collected, I think it was 120 days or 180 days. You have to check online. But after doing all this work, I had enough days that made me eligible to apply. And it's a very specific application process. It's very straightforward. And it's really just saying in a very democratic way, you've been working on these other jobs that have been preparing you to come and work on union jobs with, I like to think, the best of the best.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put in my application, and I got my letters of recommendation. I applied, and I got in. And
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's are you a Virgo?
No, Cancer.
Oh, really? I'm shocked. You're so organized.
Oh my God, don't look around this apartment. It's
But
literally a perfume and soap factory.
well, because of your product line. Yeah, right? Yes. Fantastic. So then you got onto because you were union, you were able to get into Saturday Night Live, which was like
Well, what happened was
the
I
best training
got
ever.
hired at NBC
Okay.
to work on the Today Show. I
Ah.
walked in and I was hired on the spot by someone who's like the manager of the makeup departments. And the way I should back up because it's a good story.
Okay.
The way I got into the way I got into Saturday Night Live is that I had gone with the beauty director of Glamour magazine when she was going to go be on the Today Show. So I did her makeup. I went to the studio with her, and I was just thrilled to be there. And I spoke to a couple other makeup artists when we were having an off moment while they were on camera. And the makeup artist Young Beck was so nice. She's amazing. You should have her on this show. She does like Chelsea Clinton and amazing people. And Young kept in touch with me. And she said, would you ever want to work here? And I was like, yeah, of course. I'm the makeup artist who loves to do everything.
Yes.
And I said, yeah, of course. So 6 months later, she's like, are you still interested in working at NBC? And I was like, yes, of course. She's like, here's the person, send them your email, send them your resume, do it right now. Dropped everything, sent it to her. I got an interview a few days later, went in, had a conversation. She told me the money, she told me the responsibilities, and I was hired on the spot. She took me on the tour of the building, and I was put on the schedule for the Today Show to do guests the very next day, the very next week. And at the time I was living with a boyfriend, and I said, okay, this is going to be our life now. We're going to be morning people. We're going to go to bed early. We're going to get up early, but I'm going to be done early too, so we can have lunch together. I'll go pick you up at the salon. We'll have a meal. It's going to be great. It's going to be glamorous. And then about 2 weeks after that, someone from NBC calls, and his name is Josh. And he says, I work at Saturday Night Live. We're wondering if you're available. We're doing this little film unit on Friday. And I was like, oh my God, yes, of course, absolutely. So of course I'm nervous, but I pack my kit, I get ready, I do this whole thing. And then I had a great time. I talked to other makeup artists. I think it was Cecily Strong's first pre-tape.
Oh my God.
But I got to meet Keenan, and I got to meet some other makeup artists that were amazing. And I guess they had nice things to say about me because they reported back, I guess, as Daniela tells me, Daniela Zivkovic, she's like, they asked how to go, and they were like, the new kid was great. I was like, okay, great, wonderful. So the next day, I know that SNL is doing a show, and I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. We're going to see this sketch. And it's like about around 4 or 5 in the afternoon. My phone rings and it's NBC. And I hear this cheerful voice that says, hey, is this Andrew? And I was like, yes. I was like, this is Louis Zakarian. I was like, yes. He's like, I'm the department head at Saturday Night Live. And I'm like, I know who you are. And I'm like, I see where this is going already. And my brain is like, oh my God, get ready. And he's like, somebody got sick last minute. We're wondering if you can come in and come to a cast member for the live show. We have a live show tonight. I'm like, it's Saturday morning. It's Saturday evening. I know what's happening. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, okay, great. Absolutely. Do you need me to what do you need me to bring? Do you need me to dress in all black? He's like, just we'll have all the stuff for you because I don't know what cast member you're going to bring. So just bring yourself. Just maybe wear black and get here as soon as you can. I was like, great. I can be there in 20 minutes. So I go. I'm nervous as heck.
Oh my God.
And so someone gives me a tour around the studio. And they show me the layout of the stage. They show me where the quick change areas are. And Louis tells me, okay, you're going to do Bill Hader tonight. He's got a pretty light show. He's got one mustache, but it's pretty straightforward. He's not doing anything too crazy. There's no horns or something on his head. Like, great. Okay, awesome. So we do the show. I get through it. He had one mustache originally, but then they cut it. And I was like, thank God.
Thank God.
Thank God. Just one less thing to worry about. And it was a very straightforward, easy show. And so then the next week comes and they ask me to do another pre-tape, and then they asked me to do another live show. And for the first season, that's just basically how it went, is that Wednesday, Thursday would come along and I would hope the phone would ring.
Oh my God.
Weeks, I think almost every week, the phone would ring at least once, and I'd either do a Friday pre-tape or I'd do an evening show. And I just stuck with it. I had the time of my life.
Aww.
And then after that, I got hired. The next season, Louis starts off and he's like, so can you hold every Friday and Saturday for me? I was like, Yes, I would love to do that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And were you still doing the Today Show?
Yeah, I was still going back and forth between all the different projects, and I was still freelancing and doing brides and
Yes.
doing fashion stuff and going on camera. And it was about the time that I had my La Mer deal, and I was getting ready to soon have a L'Occitane contract. So it was all kind of happening all at once.
You'll
Um,
sleep when you're dead. You kept saying, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It was a good moment though, and after a few years at SNL, and it was, I like to think that I had every experience that there was to have at SNL, other than being Louis Zakarian himself, or being Jason, who's the second in command there. And I only say this not that I learned everything there was to learn, or that I was at all like I wasn't doing Kate McKinnon every single sketch. I wasn't doing Kate McKinnon for the live show, which means you're doing makeup for her for every single sketch. I
right.
wasn't doing that, but all I'm saying is that I felt like I got to have every emotional experience being at
Mhm.
Saturday Night Live. Like I got to feel what it was to be the new kid on the block. I got to feel what it was to walk in and think that I could, to suddenly start thinking, oh, I think I can do this, and to get a chip on my shoulder, and then to have a moment where I realized, oh no, this experience that I had tonight, that is something like I've never experienced before. Um, I thought I knew what SNL was. I was totally wrong. And
Mm.
to kind of like survive that moment, and to think maybe I won't come back even after this
Mm.
experience. And then to, yes, in fact, get invited back. Like that alone is an amazing journey. And then somewhere like a year or two after that, I started doing SNL maybe 3 days a week, and
Mhm.
sometimes even 4 days a week. And so that meant it was even more a part of my life, and even more a part of my extended family. And so then I got even deeper relationships with certain friends, and relied that much more on Louis, as a mentor, but also as honestly, like a voice of self-esteem in my life.
Mhm.
And looking at Daniela or Melanie Dimitri and people and Amy Tagliamonte, that inspire me, who I just like bow down to every time I see their faces. Um, to then get to the end of another year at SNL back in 2017, I think, and then have Louis pull me aside and say, "Hey, I want to talk to you for a second." And I'm like, "Oh my god, the shoe's dropping! I'm finally getting fired. I've been here 6 years. I'm getting fired. It was time. They
They
figured it
found
out.
out. They
Imposter
found
syndrome
out.
is real." He's like, "Come here, I want to talk to you." And he go, and mind you, like, Sashir Zameda was leaving SNL at that time. She decided to go do other projects, and I was like, "Oh my god, Sashir's leaving. I've been here a certain amount of time. There may not be a job for me next year. Maybe I know what this is going to be like the world was crashing around me. I just assumed for no good reason." And Louis says, "I'm going to talk to you for a second." I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god." He's like, "Just want to say thank you for everything you've been doing all this time." It's like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." He's softening the blow.
Yeah, yeah.
Worked really hard. I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." He's like, "So I just want to tell you that I put you on the Emmys ballot for this year." And I was like, "Oh my god, wait, what?" I was like, "Louis." He was like, "Yeah, there's always a couple people who are I put on every year, and there's always some people I
Oh.
try to rotate through for my team so everyone can get recognized. And so you were here a lot this year. You worked really hard, and I wanted to put you on the ballot." And I was like, "Oh my god, thank you so much." But like, "Louis, so and so hasn't been nominated yet, or so and so doesn't have one yet." He was like, "I put them on last year, and then this person's also on the ballot with you this year." I was like, "Oh, well then, thank you." And
Oh,
then
that's
fast forward to 3 months later,
wonderful. That is so what a blessing. That's
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Wonderful. So
The
did
funny
did
thing,
you
go ahead. No,
you
no, no,
attended
you go. You go. No, you.
you go.
You. It's your show.
Oh my god. So you got to attend obviously and what was
Yep.
that like?
I mean, I've been to the Emmys 3 times because I've been
Okay.
nominated 3 times in a row, and then I won the first out of the three. Um, and it was amazing. I got to bring as my plus one. I brought my former assistant Sarita Noth. She worked for me for 3 years, and in that time, she put just as much work into my career as I did. And now we're friends, and she's now helped me with my social media stuff, and she has purchased products from Oracle Jayne Station, and so it's nice to just see like people that were there in the beginning, now at this point, being the same points in their own careers,
Mhm.
or bigger. So it was great to bring Sarita with me. And when they called our show as the winner, I I just felt like this big, huge breath of relief because I was no longer worrying,
Mhm.
and this surreal moment. And I remember seeing the faces of my friends as we were walking, you know, all our friends, we were like scooting out of our row. And then I don't remember like for 50 feet walking down the aisle of what happened. I just remember suddenly being there with my friends, then being at the stage, helping Daniela onto the stage, and then like a good makeup artist, Louis is there giving the thank you speech. And I look out into the crowd and I'm like, oh my God, this place is huge. This is amazing. This is what I've been hoping for since I was a little kid, giving thank you speeches, wanting to be an actor. I'm like, this
Right?
is it. But then, like a good makeup artist, I was watching the monitor off to the side on the Jumbotron,
Oh,
and I was
no.
looking at us and I was looking at everybody's faces. I realized, seeing if like we all looked good.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And when you
yeah.
watch the clip, you can see everybody looking at Louis and listening. And I'm listening and looking, but I'm also like watching the screen, which when you're on a TV show, you as the makeup artist, you watch the screen and make sure the people on camera look how they're supposed to look.
That is too funny. That's hilarious. You're like, "Where's the monitor?"
Where's the monitor? It is funny,
Oh.
though. I feel like it's important to say this, that people often ask me about the Emmy and what it kind of did and how it changed my career. And in terms of what changed about my career after winning, I think it's different than what people expect.
Hmm.
Like, this is true for actors too, that there's sort of a thing where you might win an Academy Award and then be in every single film for the next 5 years,
Mhm.
or you might take a little break and take a breather and then be more selective about your projects. And
Mhm.
I don't know the ins and outs of that, but in my own experience, I was busy. I stayed busy after winning, but I don't think there was a moment where suddenly um, my phone started ringing off the hook,
Mhm.
or suddenly people were thinking, oh, well, now we should have Andrew because now he's this and he's this makeup artist. Certainly nobody at Saturday Night Live was treating me any differently, other
Mhm.
than with like big, like, congratulations. Um, but what felt different was in the way that I would show up for work,
Ah.
because I did win that year, but I won with Amy Tagliamonte,
Mhm.
who was a department head on a lot of major projects here. I won with Daniela Zivkovic, who's been at Saturday Night Live for, since the era of Maya Rudolph and JC Morgan. And I was there with Jason, who was a makeup artist on Face Off and got there the same day that I did.
Mhm.
Jason had we both arrived at the same moment and survived for the same amount of time. And then Jason became, the key makeup artist, the second in command. And I was there sitting next to Rachel, who does Kate McKinnon, and I was sitting there with Louis, who's been there for 50% of the time. That's more than 50% of the time that Saturday Night Live has been a show.
Mhm.
So I felt like the new kid on the block in that, even in that moment of winning. And it was like, there's a sense of pride that comes with this, but also a great sense of humility, because I got to be among these other people. And it's like, you may have been a big shot for where you came from before, but much like Drag Race, you are garbage until proven otherwise. The new echelon in which you get to participate. So it
Right.
was like, I might be an Emmy winner, but I might also be one of the greenest Emmy winners. And at least
Right.
my class that year, I was. So I very much felt like two things. I felt like I've got to live up to this award that I've been given and make sure that everybody who works with me knows that I didn't win this as a mistake.
Mm.
And I need to also, on a personal level, when I see that statuette, it reminds me that I have put a lot of time into my career. I've spent a lot of time drawing and painting and taking classes with people like Sam Vine, and learning and listening and buying new products and practicing and doing jobs that I needed to do because I knew they would inform me, and taking advice from people like Sandy Linter, ignoring advice from people who don't have my best interests at stake. And all of this had gotten me somewhere. And there is 24 karat plated gold on my mantle that tells me that that is undeniable truth.
Wow. I love that you said that.
I think being blessed with an Emmy win and 2 more nominations, I could use it to say, like, I'm this amazing makeup artist, or I could use it to say, I've done enough in my time in my career to know that certain things are right and that I expect them when I show up from work of myself and of other people. I
Hmm.
expect to be paid in a reasonable amount of time. I expect to be paid the rate that is fair or that I've earned. I expect to collaborate with people in a respectful way. And I expect that if somebody has a strong vision, that I will, the director, that I will allow them and I will help them to get that vision achieved. Um, you know, there's a lot that I expect, but I worry that we might let go of some of these critical mass sort of moments
Yes.
as people start to compromise in ways that they shouldn't. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to show up at work and allow for more risk than that they already would have
Right.
in situations. I don't want people to think, well, I should just work for free for this person because they don't have a budget. It's like bullshit. Like billionaires and CEOs and major companies are still making tons of money. They're
Yes.
just doing it in
Yes.
sometimes different ways. But we, as the workers, we're the ones who generate wealth.
Hmm.
Artists generate wealth. The arts in America generate over $760 billion a year.
Hmm.
And that's like thinking of performing arts. Then when you go into like fashion as an art, that's something, that's a whole other number. But it's like, there's never going to be a moment where a model looks her very best on a huge billboard or an HD commercial where a makeup artist didn't help the process. There's never going to be a moment on Broadway going forward where there's a wig and a hair design and a makeup design that's not informed by somebody who really put the time and effort and creativity to help you tell that story of that character.
Right.
Like, we have to respect ourselves and our crafts and know that there's a long history of people who have helped us to get to this point where not only are we getting paid living wages, but we're also doing work that goes beyond just making somebody look pretty.
Hmm.
We have to respect and we have to appreciate that if we're going to continue to be employed, if we're going to continue to get the contracts that we deserve, and if we're just going to continue to improve our crafts. Because if you don't show up for work with this level of expectation for yourself and your employers, you're not going to go home and think, man, I'm energized. I'm going to do an even better job tomorrow. What am I going to get my hands into? But I also will say that good talent comes from everywhere if you keep working hard. Like, there's a makeup artist that I hired for a photo shoot with New York Magazine. She assisted me, but I met her working at Duane Reade drugstores.
Wow.
This has happened once in my entire career where somebody recognized me on the street,
Hmm.
maybe twice. But this woman, Erica, she she and my West Side Story team and I, we were just gonna go buy nail polish. And she stops me. She kind of just like one of these. We're like,
Yeah. I know you. Yeah.
I, I know you. And sure enough, she's like, I follow you on Instagram. You're Andrew Sotomayor, aren't you? I was like, yes. And how do you know that? Like, this is recently too. So it's like, you might think like I'm at a certain level or whatever, but like, I don't get recognized. So she did, but sure enough, like her work was baller. And so I was like, keep in touch. And I was like, Erica, do not work for free. Do not do this. Like if you need to practice, then call a photographer, call a model, and be like, this is an idea that I have. I think it would be beautiful. Would you like to do this project
Hmm.
with me on our day off?
Hmm.
Like, go do that so you make sure you get pictures that you use. Don't go do
Exactly.
some no makeup shoot for like somebody that should be paying you money when they've got obviously
Exactly.
the money. Like, don't let somebody skimp on you. Like, that's a waste of your time. You're not going to do beautiful makeup that's going to inspire somebody like me. And so she had been testing and doing all this beautiful work with projects that were inspiring to her, that were with people that respected her. She was ready to come and assist me. So I kind of plucked her out of this drugstore, and she did right. She did an amazing job. So yeah, self-respect is
I
going to
love
empower you.
that.
And she had the self-respect to say to me, I'm a makeup artist, not just say I'm a fan. She had the self-respect to say, yes, I'll show you my Instagram, and
Yeah.
yes, I'm proud of what I've done. Like, the courage there is what's going to carry us to the next era of out of this moment of COVID.
I think so. Yeah. The line is right behind you, right? That's you.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, this is my line. This is Oracle Jayne Station. I've got perfumes and I've got the perfumes, and we got body scrubs. And, this is another moment where having all these different variety moments in my career have kind of helped me get to this point.
Yeah.
Um, I think the fashion experience is what makes my packaging matte black and chic. I think my
Beautiful.
experience of living on the west in the Southwest and then on the East Coast, all of that coming together inspires the fragrances themselves. And selling perfume was my very first job when I got into the business. So it is nice to feel it come full circle. But also in terms of like as a career pivot or in
Mhm.
terms of sustaining myself, I just knew for myself that I wanted to be picky and choosy about the jobs that I was going to take, particularly in the post-COVID or in the mid-COVID era, which is what we're in
Oh my
now.
God.
And I knew that if I
Mid-COVID.
finally made this dream come true of having my perfume line, that it would creatively satisfy me in a particular way and financially help to eventually satisfy me in a particular way so that I could be choosy about who I chose to work with. And
Mhm.
that if somebody, you know, is not going to offer a proper budget, that I can say, no, thank you. I'm going to go
Right.
work on Oracle Jane Station
Right.
instead. So I
That's
hope that
powerful.
it's
Yeah.
powerful, and it's true whether you're, working in drugstores like my friend Erica, or whether you're a brand founder. Put your eggs in lots of different baskets
Mhm.
because it's going to allow you to do only the best of the best.
Oh, well, you're truly inspiring, Andrew. I mean, this has been so much more than I bargained for. I love your story and the advice that you have and your generosity in the industry. And where tell us all about where we can find the podcast because now we want to listen to yours.
Yeah, well, you can listen to Masters of Makeup. It's on all the podcast channels. You can watch the video version of it on Vimeo or on YouTube. You can check out my brand, Oracle Jane Station, at oraclejanestation.com. And I'm on Instagram and all of that stuff as Andrew Sotomayor.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Hey, everybody, if you're still hanging in there, thank you. I'm so glad you're still with me. And thank you so much for sharing and listening and following and doing all of the things. I appreciate it so much. And I appreciate all of your comments and texts and DMs as well. So thanks for telling me what you like and even what you want less of. That's great. I love hearing all the feedback. And I can't wait to see you next week because we've got a great episode. I'm so excited to share it with you. It's the Schitt's Creek episode. Yes, it is. It's here. We'll be talking to Anya and Lucky from the hair and makeup department, and I can't wait to share with you some of these backstories and fun talk about wigs and red lipstick and all the fabulosity that is Schitt's Creek and Moira. See you soon. Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, edited by Nicole Tucker. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel Look Behind the Look podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at LookBehindPod and Instagram at LookBehindTheLook. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.